Hello everyone, welcome to Computer Science 190, lecture number 19, I think. Today we'll be talking about arrays. Let's roll. Okay, so I want all of these lectures to be very packed. I want them to take not more than 30 minutes, such that it will be convenient for you and for me as well, recording-wise. Yeah. Today we'll be talking about arrays. Arrays in Java, in computer science, is a very popular computer science concept. That's something which you'll be using throughout your entire career 100,000%. So, for example, remember we were talking about math.around, math.floor, math.arint, math.ceilin, okay? So those functions may or may not be used. It's very likely that you will never use them, but you will always be using for loops, do while loops. You will definitely be using arrays 100,000% all the time. That's why let's try starting that out with very good understanding what arrays are, okay? So let's jump over here, okay, to the compiler browser. And let's say I have I want to create a variable which is called, I don't know, age, and I want to have I want to store somehow in the program ages of all my students. I have a class of 15 students. I want to store ages of them in a variable. Okay, so I can say age 1 is equal to 18. Okay, and then later, since it's only one age and I have 15 students, I probably should create ages for each one of the students. How would I do that? Okay, so I would just, I don't know, I would create a huge amount of variables. H2, H3, H4, H5. H6, I would just assign a lot of like different values to them. Okay, so maybe like you freshmen, 18 years old, 19 years old, 17. Then some of you may be getting your second degree, so you're 30 years old, then 20, 21, 18, something like that. Okay, so 15 variables in total. Okay, now the problem is this though. What if I made a mistake? And what if I actually well, first off, as you can see, that's not very convenient already, right? So what if I have like not 15 but 30 or 100 students in my class? Yeah, that's just not, I mean, that's already a lot of code. But what if, let's say, I made a mistake and I need to increase age of each one of the students by 1. Okay, so what would I have to do? I would have to say age 1 plus plus, right? H2 plus plus. Okay, and then I would have to repeat that huge amount of times. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. And so on. Okay, and so on. So that's very inconvenient, especially again. Oh yeah, and then we're thinking, okay, so it sounds like you want to do some kind of repetitive action. Okay. You want to increase by 1 all the values of ages. Okay, that sounds like something which you can do with the for loop. So yeah, kind of, maybe. So how would that look? What would that look like? You would say for int I is equal to 0, I is less than, well, okay, so age 1. Okay, so age 1, I is less than or equal to 15, probably, I plus plus. Okay, and then you would say age plus plus, right? Unfortunately, that's not gonna work, right? Because that's age, that's not h1, h2. So in order to make it work, I need to be able to somehow change the name of the variable inside the loop. Okay, and I don't really know how to do that. There are ways actually to do that, especially it's very popular to do in C++ and C, using so-called macros. But in Java, I'm not even sure it's available. But yeah, anyway, so definitely not something which we want to learn right now, okay? So that's why, no, that's not gonna work. Not gonna work, okay? And that's the moment when arrays come in handy, okay? So what is an array? Array is a collection of objects, collection of variables. So instead of having one name for one variable, we're gonna have one name for a huge amount of variables. Okay, so we're basically going to have one name, one variable for all of them together. Okay, so that's kind of a way to encompass them into one set, into one collection. Okay, let's get back to over here. Okay, so an array is used to store a collection of data, but often we find it more useful to think of an array as a collection of variables of the same type. Okay, so that's also very important. Array is something, array is a collection, but always it has to be a collection of the same data type of variables. So you cannot mix integers with doubles, doubles with strings, stuff like that. No, no, no. They always, always, always have to be one data type. Let's say array of ints, integers. Okay. So instead of declaring individual variables such as number 0, number 1, number 99, you declare one variable such as numbers, okay, or in our case ages, and use numbers of 0, numbers of 1, numbers of 99. Okay. So here's how it's going to work. Let's say I want to create an array, ages, where I will have 15 variables. 15 variables. So here's what I need to use. Here's the syntax. Int, okay. Then I need to put the square brackets. Whenever Java sees the square brackets, it means, okay, so that like whatever goes next is not a variable, it's an array of elements, array of variables. So basically it's a collection of things. Then I need to provide the name. A name can be like whatever you want. Again, it's very similar to the name of the array. The only hint you should usually give to the reader is that please make it plural. Okay, so for example, ages, okay. So ages, and then you need to say new. Don't think about what that means yet. It's like it's too early. Just like treat that as magic word. Just memorize that, learn it by heart. New. Then you need to provide the same data type, int, okay. And then you put the square brackets as well. And inside the square brackets, you need to specify the size of the array. In other words, how many elements are you going to have in that array? So in my case, I have 15 students in my class. That means the size of the array should be 15. I should have 15 elements, 15 objects in my collection of objects. 15, okay. Perfect. So when Java executes this line, what it's going to do, it's going to create, also called allocate, it's a more technical term. It's going to allocate the space in the memory, which will be enough to fit 15 ints, 15 integers. Okay, so we know that one int is 4 bytes, which means 15 by 4, 60 bytes. It's going to allocate 60 bytes. Okay, perfect. By default, it's going to create 15 integers. It's going to assign values of them to zeros. By default, that's the value of all the integers. If it was a double, then it will be like 0.0. If it was a string, then it will be like empty. It will be nothing if you create an array of strings. Okay, so if you want to change the type of the array, let's say doubles, all you have to do is just to say double over here and double over here. Okay, so those data types, this guy and this guy, should always match. If you're talking about a string, you need to say string. Okay, if you're talking about character, char, then you need to say character. Okay, that's good, perfect. But again, I want to have integers as ages. Okay. Okay, now, later, if I want to change the age, one of the elements in that collection, all I have to do, I have to say ages, then put the square brackets. Again, square brackets immediately means, like whenever you see the square brackets in Java, that means, okay, boom, that's an array. If you see, let's say, parentheses, that means a method. Okay, so we're talking about the method. If you see curly braces, that's also either a class or a method. But definitely, whenever you see square brackets, boom, that's an array. Okay, so again, if I want to change the very first element of my collection, all I have to do, I need to say ages. Okay, then let's say I want to change it to 18. Okay, now here between the braces, I need to provide the position of the element I want to change. So remember, there are 15 elements, and all of them are assigned. They're all distinguished by the position. Okay. So let's say there are 15 elements, okay? I don't know, so it'll be all zeros, right? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So that's 5, right? Okay, 10, 15. Okay, each one of them has position. Positions start count from 0 always. So this element has the 0 position. That's the first position. That's second. That's third. That's fourth. And this guy, and that's like $1 million question to you guys, what is the index of the last position in the array the size of which is 15, the answer is 14, okay? Because you start counting from 0. So the index, the position of this guy is 14. So for example, again, if I want to change this 0 to 18, all I have to do, I need to say ages of 0. That means please assign 18 to the 0th element of the ages array. So that will be 18, okay? So now later, for example, if I want to do the same with 1, okay, 20, so this would mean assign this 20. If I want to change ages of 5 to 21, that means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will become 21, okay? Now, again, one more million-dollar question. What happens if I try to say ages of 15 to, let's say, I don't know, 19? Let me... Yeah. So what do you think is going to happen? Sorry. Where am I? Yeah. Ages of 15 to 19. What do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is an error. You see, following errors. Why? Okay. No. Hold on. Ages. Okay. Ages. Okay, there is one more. Yeah, okay, there was one more. Sorry, hold on. Okay, yeah, look at this. So what's going to happen, there'll be an error. Why? So check this out, it says array index out of bounds. So what does that mean? Like Java 22, okay, main that Java, so 22nd line here, okay, that's the line where I have a mistake. Ages of 15 as an element doesn't exist. Why? Because there are only 15 elements in the array. The last element has a position of 14. That's why when you say ages of 15, that would basically mean the element after the last element, which doesn't exist. That's why it will be an error. So you're not allowed, you cannot do that. Moving on. Yeah, so let's say you created an array, okay, so let's say of size 15, and then maybe like, I don't know, half a year later you get back to the same code, or maybe 20,000 lines of code later, which is very, very practical, which happens all the time in production. You already forgot what is the size of the array, okay, so how would you know that? So here's how you do it. You need to say ages dot length, okay, so if I try to print that out, print that one, what I'm going to see is 15. So length of the array is the capacity. It's how many elements I have in that array. In my case, it's 15, right? Ah, no, hold on. So how many elements do I have? 15, right? But the indices span from 0 to 14, including 14. 15 is not there. Okay. Moving on. Yeah, so that's how you would create an array of doubles. Okay. That's how you would access one of them. So you basically specify the name and then index and then the value. Okay, and here's an example. My list of 0 is equal to 5.6. My list of 1 is equal to 4.5. Okay, so I'll be running quickly through the slides. Definitely read them more carefully in your free time after the class. I'll be publishing them as well. Yeah. Okay, so you can say my list 4 is equal to 4, my list 5 is equal to 34, my list of 8, okay, and then you can do that for all 10 of them, right? So 10, which means the indices will go from 0 to 9. And that's, I think, what happens here as well. Right. So my list of 9, okay, so they basically assigned values to all elements of the array. Okay. And if you want to find out the length, you should say the length of the array, that length. So for example, my list.length is equal to 10. Why? Because there are like only 10 elements in the array. Okay, now processing arrays. So here's something which you definitely should remember as well. It's like its number one rule. Whenever you want to do something to an array, which means you want to declare values, assign some values to elements of the array, because remember, by default, all elements will be assigned to zeros if those elements are numbers. If you want to change them slightly, or if you would want to drastically change them, if you want to print out all the elements of the array, what you need to use is a for loop. just remember that, and like whenever you need to whenever you ask to do something to elements of the array, just remember, most likely the solution will involve the for loop. Okay, so how's that going to work in our case? For example, I want to make each one of those elements in the array to be equal to 20. So what I can do is I can say ages of 0. Well, yeah, I can change this. So I can make that 20, 20, 20. Okay, then I can make ages of 2, 20. Okay, then okay, I can basically make it like I can make it 15. I can do it 15 times, right? And in this case, like I'll do that. I'll assign all the variables to 20. However, that's not the most efficient way to do that, okay? And that's kind of the reason why we're using arrays, is to actually get rid of that inefficiency. So again, whenever I want to mess with an array, most likely I have to use a for loop, and here's what it's going to look like. In the for loop, I'm going to assign int I is equal to 0, I is less than, and then I++. Okay. Okay, so I would represent the position. Okay, basically the position I will be changing from 0 up until the end of the array, and I would represent the position of the element we're trying to change or print out or increment or decrement or initialize the value of. So basically I will go from 0 to array.length, which is ages.length, I++. And now here, if I say ages of I is equal to 20, that will do the trick. Okay, so why? At the very beginning, I is equal to 0, so ages of 0 will be assigned to 20. Then next iteration, ages of 1 will be assigned to 20 as well. Then next iteration, ages of 2, so you see I will be changing every single time from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 and up until what? 14, right? 15 will not be valid because when I will become 15, 15 is not less than ages.length, which is also equal to 15, so 15 is not less than 15. That's why this condition becomes false, and that's why the loop doesn't get inside. Okay, so ages of I is equal to 20. Yeah, that's how you assign 20 to each one of the elements of the array. Yeah. Okay, so that's one reason. That's one way. That's one practical thing you would have to use for loops for. Another reason why you would need to use for loops. Let's say you already assigned all the values to it, and now you want to print out the values of the array. So in this case, you can do this. You can say system.out.println. Okay, I want to print out sequentially, kind of the values of those values. So I would say ages of I plus comma and space. Okay. So in this case, again, at the very beginning, I will be 0, so ages of I will be printed out. What is that? That's 20. Then I will become 1, ages of 1 will be printed out, that's also 20. Then 2, 20, okay? And then I will go up until 14, right? 15 is excluded. Yeah, and that's why it will print out the values of the array from the very left to the very right. So basically the entire range of values. It will print out all the values of the elements of the array. Okay, so I need to say print probably. Okay, so 15, where's that coming from? It's coming from here. And here I have 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, and 20, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, yeah, so I have 15 values of my array. Perfect, perfect. Okay, what else? Processing arrays. Okay, so when you initialize an array with input values, okay, so let's say you want the user to type in actually the values for each of the elements. Here's what you can do. You can create a scanner. You can say enter my list.length values. So it will be substituted with 10. Enter 10 values. And then you can say for I is equal to 0, I is less than my list.length. I plus plus. My list of I is equal to input that next double. Okay, so in this case, the user will be typing in 10 numbers, because the length of it is 10, right? The length of the array is 10. It will be typing in 10 numbers. Java will be scanning each one of them, and they will be assigned to my list of i's. Initializing arrays with random values. Okay, now if you want not the user to decide what those values are equal to, but you want the random number generator to decide. In this case, again, what do you use? You use a for loop. You do exactly the same thing for I equals to 0, I is less than minus that length, I plus plus. My list of I, okay, is equal to math.random times 100. Okay, so basically math.random generates a number between 0 and 1, excluding 1, and then you multiply it by 100, so you increase the span. So total becomes 100. From 0 to 100, right, excluding 100. Okay, now displaying an array. If you want to print out the values of the array, you have to do what I showed you. To print an array, you have to print each element in the array using the loop, like this. For I is equal to 0, I is less than my list.length, I plus plus, system.out.println, my list of I plus space. Summing all the elements. Okay, so let's say I have 15 students, I have an array of 15 elements, and I want to sum up all the ages for whatever reason. So what should I do? What should I do here? I need to say, well, first let's comment that out. Okay, I'll create a variable called sum equals to 0, and then in the for loop, what I will do, every time I access a new element of the array, I will add the value of that element to my sum. So I'll say sum equals to sum plus ages of I. Okay, and then at the very end, after the loop, I'll print out the sum. So I'll basically say sum of all ages is, okay, and I will say sum. So in this case, what do we have? We have 8 of them are 20s, all the rest are zeros, so that's why it will probably be 160, I guess. Yeah, sum of all ages is 160, okay, because it's going to add ages of 0, which is 20, plus ages of 1, plus ages of 2, plus ages of 3, plus ages of 4 to 20 to the sum, right? Plus ages of 5, 6, 7. Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. That should be 7 probably. That should be 8. Okay, but the answer is still the same. No, in this case, 180. Oh yeah, yes, there are 9. Okay, there are 9. From 0 to 8, there are 9 elements. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that's how you sum them all up. Okay, again, whenever you want to do something to an array, most likely you'll be using the for loop in this iterative approach. Summing all elements. Okay, there is a shortcut, by the way. There is a like sweetener. A sweetener is something in computer science which is basically an instruction, a statement, which does something which does something which you use a lot, and it does it in a shorter form. Okay, so it does the same thing, but you have to type fewer characters. For example, in this case, this line is absolutely equivalent to sum plus equals ages of I. Okay, so that shortcut plus equals is very popular in Java, all types of C programs, JavaScript as well. I'm thinking about Python. I think it's possible to do in Python. I think in Python you cannot do plus plus and minus. I'm not sure why. I think, as far as I remember. Anyway, yeah. What else? Finding the largest element. How would you do that? Okay, how would you find the largest element? So here's how you would do it. You would create a variable called max, and you would assign it to any kind of variable, any kind of element. So let's say my list of 0. It doesn't matter which one you assign it to. Okay, and then so imagine that you have something like this. Okay, 15 values, and you want to find the biggest number, the maximum value. So you assign the max to the first one. Let's say 18. Okay, which is basically, I mean, again, ages of 0, right? So you assign ages of 0 to max, and then what you do, you need to compare your max in the for loop to each one of those elements. And if your max is less than the element you compared that to, then that element, for example, this 20, should become that max. Hope it makes sense. So basically, you assign your max to some number, to any of those values, and then as you traverse the array, as you go from an element to an element, if you find something bigger, then your max should become that element which is bigger. Okay, so for example, at the very beginning max is equal to 18, right, because it was assigned to ages of 0, 18. Then it's compared to 20, 20 is bigger, so that's why a 20 should become max. Then 0 is less, okay, 0 is less than 20, 21 is greater than 20, so 21 should become max. And then you compare it to 0, 0 is less than 21, this 0 is less than 21, all of them are less than 21. So at the very end, after you compare your max to each one of those elements, once you get outside of the loop, you'll get the maximum value, which will be equal to 21. Okay, so here's the code. For int I is equal to 1, you can also say 0. It doesn't matter. I is less than my list.length, I++. If my list of I is greater than max, max is equal to my list of I. In other words, if your max is less than the element you're looking at, then max should become that element you're looking at. For each loop, there is a very also convenient way to traverse an array, and that's how you do that for each loop. So basically, here's how it works. So you would say for, and I think you would say for each. Just for. Okay, it's in JavaScript, I think, for each. Okay, so you'd say for. Then you would provide the name of the type of the variable. So in our case, it's integers. Okay, now int, and then you, for example, say e colon. Then you provide the name of the array, ages. Okay, and then instead of saying ages of I or ages of E, you just say an E. Okay, so for example, system that out that println E. Okay, so again, in this case, what happens is that you don't have to access elements like ages of I, right? You're not going to use an index. You're basically going to use just the variable name E. Every single iteration of this for loop, E will be changed to the next element of the array. Okay, so at the very beginning, E will become this 18, then it will be this 20, then it will be 0, 0, 0, 21. That's just another way of writing ages of I. Okay, that's just another way of doing that. Exactly the same thing. I would say from my experience, 99% of the students always use this, like for loop. Sometimes this becomes more convenient, but it's just so difficult. I mean, a lot of students actually make mistakes. They, for example, can say ages of E. I see them doing that a lot, and that no, it's not true. If you do for each loop, then there is no index needed. Only in this loop, regular for loop, you would say ages of I, but here, no, you just say E. Okay. Okay, hope it makes sense. What else? I have 3 practice exercises. So this one, I want you to copy that to Eclipse and just make sure it works. This one, please do the same thing. Very similar to one of the examples over here. And 2 more. Okay, cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you next time. Please stay safe. Bye-bye.